So hi everyone joining us. I'm just going to give us a couple of minutes to let anybody who's wanting to come to the session come in, and then we'll get started in a minute. Just to cover off some housekeeping before we go, if you could all turn your cameras and your mics to mute, that would be amazing. And then we're not going to have any random coughs or nose blowings in the recording. And at the end, we'll have a chance for questions. So if you want to just pop any questions that you have into the chat box or the conversation box in Teams, then I'll cover them off at the end. Great, so if you could all just pop your mics on mute, that would be brilliant. And if you could all just turn your cameras off, that just means we can focus on the slides for the session. And then at the end, we can pop our mics and cameras back on and cover off any questions that you guys might have. So if you can submit any questions into the chat and the conversation, then we can cover those off at the end. But please do keep these just for questions. That would be great. Also, just to let you know, this session's being recorded, and this is just so that the session can be added to the platform next week. So anybody who didn't make it this morning can watch it as and when they need to. So the recording of this session will be popped onto the Speakeasy platform next week. Brilliant, so I'm going to get started because we've got quite a lot of ground to cover. We've got quite a lot of ground to cover when we're going to talk about making the right decisions about social media. So just to introduce myself, I'm Sarah Johnson, so you can't see me just now, but this is me. And I'll chat to you guys at the end when we can pop our cameras on and have a bit of a chat. If we could all just pop our mics on mute, that would be amazing. And turn our cameras off. Fabulous. So as I said, I'm Sarah Johnson and I'm Director of Data-Driven Marketing Agency, Indigo Leap. Morning, guys. If we could just pop our mics and cameras off, that would be brilliant. Fab. So I've been working in digital marketing for over 17 years now, which actually sounds like quite a long time. That was back when the Facebook was just a newly launched platform only open to high school students and uni students, which is obviously a completely different way from how we use social today. And it's become a huge part of the way many of our businesses find, communicate and sell to customers. So yeah, today there's lots of decisions that we can make, and social can feel like there's lots of rules, there's lots of different platforms, you've got to be in the know, but we want to kind of talk about how you can make the right decisions to get the right social platform for you. And remember, this is your social platform for your business and for you. There's no cookie cutter here, there's no one size fits all. What works well for one business won't necessarily work well for you. So we can go through some steps to work out what is it that your business needs from social media and how can you use social in order to achieve the goals that you want it to. But first, I want to talk a little bit about the importance of social media. For many small businesses, social is a really accessible channel. It can be the most accessible channel for small businesses. When you think about trying to reach a big, wide group of people, trying to reach your audience, other channels that you've got open to you, like TV ads or outdoor display, online advertising, all of these are quite big budget, big kind of huge marketing exercises that you often need specialist expertise for, or fancy types of technology or lots of assets. However, with a smartphone and a small ad budget, you can set up and run social and begin reaching your audience quite quickly once you've taken a little bit of time to plan and prep and know what you're going to do. Also, since COVID, social has become, during COVID lockdown, social was at the forefront of how we were all conversing with businesses. So many of us were going onto social media to see Are these guys open? How are they serving customers now? What's different? And social became the focal point of that. And obviously social was how we all interacted with everybody. So really since lockdown, social's become even more important. So let's just have a little look at the size of that market. In the UK, there are 57.6 million users of social media. That's essentially 85% of the adult population who use social media, and that is a lot of people. And that's people, it's not users, I know that I've just used the word users, but think of it, this is people like you and me. We are usually all social media users. So it's pretty safe to say that unless you've got an incredibly niche audience, your customers will be using social media in some way, shape, or form. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're on there just waiting to hear about you and waiting to hear your sales pitch or waiting to interact with your company, but there is an opportunity there. There's an opportunity to reach and engage with your existing and potential customers, to build a relationship, to offer support, and importantly, to build trust. And of course, to persuade them about your brand and to sell to them. So do think that your customers are using social media. And social media use has evolved over the years. So like I said, initially, the social platforms were networking tools. So the Facebook was used by students to keep in touch with each other. However, over the years, the way that we use these platforms has evolved. So now people obviously still use these platforms as social networks, but they also use them to they still use these platforms to connect with people and to broadcast what they've been up to, but they also use them to find content, to search for things to do and buy. So social media platforms in themselves have become search engines. People actively look for products and brands on the big social platforms. They look for things to buy, they look for things to do. They are entertainment hubs, they're review sites, people look for content, they're brand communication tools. So the way that we use social has evolved, and people are actively interacting with brands on social media. So they're happy to interact with brands on these large social networking platforms. Way back in the day, I remember the first steps into Facebook marketing, it was, are you intruding? Do people want you here? But with these big platforms, yes, this has become the norm. This has become expected. This is how people interact with brands a lot of the time. So almost 30% of internet users use social networks to look for information about brands and products, and that's them actively looking. Over 90% of Instagram users follow at least one brand, and 50% of Facebook users interact with a Facebook business page at least once a month. So people expect you to have a presence a lot of the time, particularly on the big platforms. Many users do expect you to have a presence, and you probably should. It is increasingly a part of the marketing mix for businesses, both big and small. And like I said, that's only been accelerated since we've had lockdowns. But I want to take a little minute to pause. So before we launch into like what platforms you should be on, what kind of content you should be posting, we do need to take a little minute to pause and to think about what you want to get from it. So to do a little bit of planning. And let's not think of the planning, which is a key step in a successful social strategy. You do need to have a little bit of a think about it before you start. But let's keep it in perspective. We're not talking about a big, huge, month-long strategy to develop that's going to be a big, huge dossier of a document. This can just be jotted down on a bit of paper, on a napkin, whatever you like, but it is important to do the groundwork first and to have a bit of a plan. We need to determine the why, the who, and the what. So first of all, we need to have a think about, why are you doing this? Why are you using social media? What is it that you want to achieve for your business from social media? So we need to think about all of the different ways that social could work for you and the things that you want to gain. So all of this will influence your social activity. It will help direct what platforms you should be on, what type of content you should post, the focus of your ad spend, how you measure success, etc. And so we want to talk about the fact that the marketing funnel, so you'll often hear like top of funnel, bottom of funnel. So this is essentially the marketing funnel, where we have attention, where you want to attract attention and raise awareness of your brand and your product or your business and your service, then the next step that people go through, so if you think of this as your customer journey, first of all, you have to grab their attention, and next you need to generate interest and inspire them. Next, you need to spark desire. You want to make them want your product or service and persuade them that you do. And then the next is to prompt action and convince them to convert and to facilitate that. And then you want to retain your customers and build loyalty. And social actually supports the entire marketing funnel. So you can use social for goals across all of these. But you really do need to think about what it is that you want to get from social. And it's likely going to be some kind of element of more. So it's likely going to be more awareness or more leads or more sales, etc. But do think about what you want to get and be realistic. So, for example, do you need to generate awareness of your new business or service or product? Are you looking to find and generate new leads? Are you an e-commerce company looking to actually sell through these platforms and make direct sales? Are you a local business who's looking to get more feet through the door? Are you looking to kind of engage your existing customers and build some brand loyalty with them? There's lots of different goals that you could, or objectives, sorry, that you will have from social media and where social needs to serve you. And it is important to actually write down what it is that you want to achieve, because this will keep you focused. So when there's decisions to be made or there's data to be looked at, you can think, what was it that we were trying to achieve from this? And if we are going to talk about setting goals, we need to make sure that they're smart. So that means that they're specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And this is just so we're not going to say something like, oh, I'll sell more stuff. If we do want to achieve a goal, we need to make sure that it is quite specific. So we want social to help us sell to people in this specific geographic or audience group. And we're hoping to achieve X amount of sales by Christmas. So try and make your goals smart. And you will have heard of smart everywhere. It always gets bandied about. But I mean, it's quite catchy. So there is a myth that your social objectives are all about follower count. So I remember back in the day, it used to be how many followers do we have on Facebook, because that was essentially the most important thing. If you had lots of followers on Facebook, which we'll go on to later, if you had 10,000 followers, then your message could go out to 10,000 people. But now, it's not so much the focus. Now engagement is what we're looking for. Much better to have a smaller amount of followers that are engaged and that are interacting with your presence and your brand. So engagement metrics are key, and they're also key to you getting that reach with the social platforms algorithms, which again we'll talk about later. So next we need to have a little think about who we're talking to. So obviously, a key part of getting your social and indeed your business right is understanding who you target. So you will understand your audience. You know who they are, you know who you want to sell to, you know who your ideal audience is. And once you know the who, it's easier to decide where you're going to speak to them and what you should say. So the first thing that we would do, and it sounds a bit ridiculous, but it's to create a pen portrait of your target audience. Get it written down. This will help you with your Facebook targeting. So remember, your social targeting. Platforms like Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, they've all got quite a lot of information about people, which means they've got very kind of good targeting options in their ads and things like that. So you want to make sure you know who your audience are. So have a bit of a think about your ideal audience. Who are you selling to? Are they in a specific age group? This is just a kind of an outline of what a persona could look like. Yours can look like anything, but you can use this as a bit of a template if you want. But are they in a specific age group? Are they in a geographic or local area? Are they a specific gender? Do they share certain interests? Are they parents or pet owners or pizza lovers or wild swimmers? What other brands do they follow? And importantly, what social platforms do they use? Where are they on social? What tech literacy do they have? What are their format preferences? Have a think about all of these things, and also jot down what do you want to get from them? What are they going to buy? What's their spend level? Building a picture of your audience really can help. And to do this, have a look at some data, do a little bit of research if you need to. So if you're keen to do more, do a bit of Googling, see if you can find out more about your audience's social habits, speak to your existing customers who fit the bill, see what they do, think about people you know that fit the bill. You can even have a look if you want to get really into your brand research on things like Business Gateway have a lot of the market reports and things, but even just a kind of a top line look about can really help with this. Now we need to think about, what do you have that they want? So obviously you have your product or your service or whatever it is that you are trying to sell to them, but what are the USPs in this? What are your unique selling points? What is it about you, your business, your culture, your staff, your products or services that are going to convince the audience? What do you have to say that's going to be interesting? So have a little think about this. Think about what sets you apart from the competition and what makes people choose you. It could be things like price and quality, but also your industry knowledge, your location, things like that. And what do you get good feedback from your customers about? What do people like about you? Jot all of that down and actually write it down. It is useful later for when you're trying to think of content ideas, and pop it into alongside your personas. So you know, well, the key convincing content is this. This is my main marketing messaging, and this can all just help you kind of have things in your back pocket that you want to share on social. So the next thing we need to look at is which social platforms that you need to be on. So once we know what we're trying to achieve and we know who our audiences are, it's now time to start thinking about, okay, so where should I be? And remember, again, there's no one size fits all in this. Just because somebody else you know or somebody's business are having a great time on a TikTok or a specific platform, Instagram, that doesn't mean it's a fit for you, your business, what you want to say, and your audience. So it really kind of is, it's personal, if you like. It's up to you and your business. And your social footprint could well encompass a few platforms, as long as that's a fit for you and things that you can manage those platforms. Do remember that each social platform is different, and you shouldn't take a blanket approach across all of them. And it's important to get this right. So don't take on too much. If you need to take kind of baby steps and get one platform right at a time, then do that. It's more important to have it right than to kind of have a scattergun approach to everywhere. So, having a look at the top used social platforms in the UK just now, there's a great kind of industry report that Hootsuite and We Are Social do every year, and it's about kind of how people are using digital. It's really interesting, especially for stat nerds like me. But one thing that is interesting is they show kind of the top used social platforms in the UK by adults, and you can see that Facebook is still the top used platform. 74% of internet users aged 16 to 64 using it each month, then Instagram, then Twitter, and then you can see TikTok coming up, and Pinterest and LinkedIn. So realistically, for a lot of you, at least some of your audience is likely to be on Facebook or Instagram. Not everybody, there are obviously exceptions, but for a lot of businesses, Facebook and sometimes Instagram are the platforms that they look at. But again, it's up to you and your business. So again, we need to think about ultimately which platforms are your customers on. It's going back to that pen portrait of what we've just had a look at. Where are they, and could they be on any others? So you need to select the platforms that your audience are using or might be using, and where they're receptive to hear from you. Another thing to take into consideration, and we will talk about the kind of the different platforms and what their kind of their audience makeup is. However, social platforms now, they fill quite a lot of different roles for your company. So there's a lot of different kind of potential of how they can serve you. So for example, social media can be a platform where you're sharing information on your brand, even in place of a website. So we saw that quite a lot with smaller businesses, where their Facebook page really is their social, that's their kind of home on the internet. That's where there's information about the brand, about say opening times or what they're doing or how you can converse. So sometimes social really is a platform online for your brand with information. It's also a brand engagement tool where you're going to be showcasing your brand and your personality and engaging. Like obviously that's social, isn't it? It's people, it's about people, it's about you as a person and your audience as people having a conversation. So obviously brand engagement is a big part of it. Social's also increasingly the customer support channel go-to for users and businesses, so where you can answer queries and solve issues. A lot of times if people have an issue, they'll go straight to Twitter because that is where a lot of companies run their customer support. Some of the big brands have separate Twitter accounts for their customer support services, so people can just kind of, it's a massive chatbot really, isn't it? So customer support is key on social a lot of the time, and even if you don't have kind of Twitter, that people can ask questions, people can query things, so keep that in mind. The rise of social commerce means that social is increasingly is a shop promoting and selling products. Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest in particular, and TikTok are pushing this shop functionality. And in the States, some companies can even offer a checkout on these platforms, which should be coming over here. So do think of it if you are an e-commerce company. It's also a sales channel where you can generate and nurture leads, where you can you can interact with people. And it's also an advertising platform in its own right. It's got such a large audience and such a lot of information on people that it can offer such a lot of detailed targeting. So it can be powerful to run ads to new and potential customers. So this is just some of the different roles that social can serve you in helping you kind of network and engage and sell to and converse with your audience. So now that we've thought of those different roles, it's time to have a look at the platforms. Now, these are some of the key platforms: Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter and Pinterest and TikTok, and there's also others. There is others that are up and coming or that could disappear. We don't know. Social media is always in flux. The platforms that we use today are not necessarily the same as the platform, well, they're not the same as the platforms everybody used, say, 10 years ago. And that's what's exciting about social, is it changes and evolves. Now, obviously, this is pinch of salt data. I want to have a look at the kind of the typical audiences and uses of each platform. These are not hard and fast rules. This is pinch of salt data, but there is some truth in it. This is looking at the data of who is using these platforms. And it can just be quite interesting for thinking, well, is there an opportunity here, or is this one potentially not for me? So thinking about Facebook, it is the most popular platform among males and females aged 35 to 44. However, it's still widely used, widely used by people aged 18 to 44, and it's got the oldest audience of all platforms. Like, you do get people of all ages using social media. If we could just place our mics on mute, that would be amazing, everyone. Thank you. It's B2C predominantly. If you sell to individuals, great, but sometimes B2B can work on this. It's good for a range of businesses, including local businesses and bricks and mortar businesses. Facebook is kind of a catch-all, isn't it? It's the biggest platform, and it can be good for a range of businesses. It's often used as a platform, like we said, so in place of a website even. If you need to share a lot of information with your clients or answer a lot of questions, it's good. And it's also a great ad platform. It's a good advertising opportunity with excellent targeting, but also with customer services, and obviously it's shop and everything. So Facebook is it's the biggest platform, and it's got a wide range of ages. Looking at Instagram, the audience still skews slightly younger than Facebook, but not too young. 18 to 34 is the highest proportion, but it's still got a wide range of ages. More and more people are using Instagram as standard. It's more of a B2C tool, so if you sell to individuals, but obviously that's not a hard and fast rule. That's just, you can have some B2B success, but generally if you sell to individuals, if you have a lifestyle brand or product, that's a great fit, but it's not limited to this. It is image and video led, so a lot of your Instagram is image posts, is reels, is stories, is quick videos. That is the name of the game in Instagram, and it does have good shop functionality and advertising and good ad targeting. Having a look at LinkedIn, LinkedIn has it's the professional network, isn't it? So it's B2B, it's focused on business and business networking. age 25 to 54 is kind of your kind of main target, and the largest group of that is 25 to 34. Professional services are a good fit, but again, it's not limited to that, and it is really a thought leadership, networking, collaboration platform. If you need to expand your network, if you need to engage with other people through your B2B business, then LinkedIn is the place for you. Twitter, the largest age group is 25 to 34. It does skew slightly more male. It can be B2C and B2B, and it's often used for customer services. It's also useful for business owners sharing opinions, joining conversations and networking. But remember, guys, all of this is pinch of salt. Each one is kind of different for everybody. It all works. It works differently. This is just to kind of give a sweeping overview so you can investigate more and see if it is a fit for you. Pinterest users are predominantly female in every age group. Pinterest is predominantly female. It's across all ages, but the largest age group on this is 25 to 34. It can be used B2C, also a little bit of B2B, potentially. It depends what you're doing. Remember that with Pinterest, it's ultimately an online mood board. It's a visual search engine, and it's a productivity tool. So if your audience wants to shop or wants to start a project or get motivated, then it can be a good fit. It's good for crafts businesses, lifestyle brands, shops, coaches, authors, trainers, etc. If you have something to help people shop, start a project, or get motivated, then it could be a good fit for you. Again, you need to have a look and see. And now TikTok. So TikTok has obviously exploded in popularity, and it is becoming more mainstream. However, it's still a really young audience. So it's ultimately teenagers and Generation Z, so people up to age, say, 24. But some older people are starting to use it too. TikTok is still a little bit of a wild west of a social platform, I feel like. It's really interesting, but it's not quite the same as the others. There are different rules of engagement here. It has its own language. It's a lot of in jokes, in themes, lots of memes. You can't really just welly in. A lot of brands' presence, kind of, if you have a look at, say, Ryanair or Nando's or Fenty or ASOS, a lot of those brands have a kind of a particular voice, a thing that they're saying, and a kind of a carried on in joke, if you like. And those jokes and languages, like, and songs and memes and dances, it goes throughout the platform. So you really do need to know the rules of engagement of TikTok before you would ever kind of start to use it. Also, anecdotally, comments can be a lot closer to the bone. So whereas on Instagram, it's a lot of nice comments, like it tends to be kind of more positive. Some of the comments that you can see on TikTok are a little bit closer to the bone. And just there was a blogger that I used to follow that I remember had a big presence on Instagram, an influencer, lovely content, lovely comments on Instagram. And when she forayed into TikTok, it was quite harsh. Not in a kind of a trolling way, but just in a, people don't like the over curated content. TikTok's authentic, it's real, it's jokey. And so that kind of that curated, polished content doesn't work as well there, and it does get called out in the comments. You would also potentially need you also need a kind of a constant rep or a constant look or a constant voice so people know that it's you. So if you ever did want to look at TikTok, I've probably spoken about it too much, but you do need to spend time on it first. But remember, with all of these platforms, there are still the others. The new platforms becoming known just now. People are talking about Clubhouse, Be Real, Twitter Spaces, etc. If these happen to be a good fit for you and you're a user for them and you see the opportunity, great, you can be an early adopter. But if not, don't just FOMO into them. Don't just jump in with 2 feet because you feel like you have to. If you're unsure, it's entirely okay to wait and see if it's a fit for you. It's much more important that it's a fit for you and your audience than that you have a presence everywhere. But with all of these, there is no hard and fast rules. So I've covered these typical rules, but they're not rules. It's pinch of salt. It's to give you an idea. But each platform, there's exceptions. It can be used, so it has to be a fit for you, and the way that you use it has to work. So do a little bit of research. So we've had a look at who your audience on. We've done a little whistle-stop tour of the platforms. Have a look. What are your competitors on? What are they using? Have a look and see what they're most active on, which ones do they post most frequently on, and look at like your indirect competitors as well, people who serve the same kind of, solve the same kind of problem or speak to the same kind of audience. What are they using? That can also help. Obviously, we're not going to carbon copy, but it's sometimes useful to just get an idea of what they're doing. Also have a look at what platforms you're already on. How are they working for you? How are you using them? Have you had any successes? Is one better than the other? Have a look at that data and do a little bit of investigation. And also, you are most likely a social media user, as we all are. So yep, we're business owners, but we also are consumers, and we're also consuming content all the time and using these platforms. So what platforms are you or your team most comfortable on? Because that's important as well. If you if you use a platform regularly and you know the rules of engagement, you know what you interact with, you know what brands you follow, then you're more likely to be genuine and use the platform well, because you know what you know the state of play. So remember, it's okay if your audience are on all of these platforms, but if there's a couple that you feel most comfortable on, focus on that, start with that, get those right. So remember, you're a user as well. You're more likely to get it right if you use them. And do your homework. As a caution, like we've said with TikTok, do your homework. If you're not a user of these platforms, but you think you really need to use them, there's really nothing worse than like kind of entering a platform where you don't know what's happening. So become a user first. Make sure that you use the platform as a user before you use it as a business. Get to know what the rules of engagement are. And do remember that each platform that you use will need your time to create posts, to manage and monitor the page, to respond to comments. You will potentially need budget for ads or promotion, and you'll need to be able to commit the time to manage them properly. So do think about that before you use too many platforms. It's important to get it right rather than be everywhere. Another myth that you often see is you have to be on the latest platform or you'll look out of date. I think we all know that that's not true. Like we've said before, it's much better to take your time and use it properly, and only if it fits. You really can get the fear of missing out, the FOMO, when you hear about it or you've read an article and it sounds great and there's all this opportunity and amazing, but make sure that you're taking the time to get it right. A little step you could take is to claim your business username as a first step. So if you did want to use it, you've got it there, but only if you think it would work for you. So I'm aware that I'm quite tight on time, so forgive me if I start racing through. We're going to look at what content you should post now. So content really is king in social. It's your whole presence, and it's important that you share the content that's going to give your audience what they want and achieve what you want. And obviously, again, there is no one size fits all rule here. The content that you post is unique to you, just like your conversations at a party are your conversations. It's the same on social. It's unique to you, your business, your USPs, your audience, and that relationship that you have. The content that you should post is the content that's most likely to engage. So you have to think about what you want to say and what your audience are interested in. And that bit where they overlap, that's the best content, because yes, it's great to chat to your audience about what they're interested in, but if they're really interested in artisan bread baking and that's got nothing to do with your product, there's no point really talking to them about that. So try and think of that overlap, because again, you don't want to just broadcast all the things that you want to say if they're not interested in that. So we need to think about where these two overlap. A note on content is get the basics right first. So yes, we want to create these engaging posts and videos and reels, but do make sure that you've set up your platforms properly, that you've got your key information in there, that you've got high quality images, that you've filled out all the kind of little nuances of each platform, like a good profile picture that's either your logo, or if you're selling you yourself, a cover photo, information about your brand, and just things like that, links to your website, links back from your website to here, interlink it. Get those basics right first before we start with the all singing, all dancing content. Again, with your content, have a look at your insights. So have a look at what you've posted and what's worked well. So if you've posted different types of content in the past, different formats, different things, what got the most engagement? What kind of sparked conversation, had likes, had comments? What have you done that's worked well, and what kind of content didn't work well? Was it hastily written? Was it not benefit led for the user? Look at your insights and see what works well for you. and then get some inspiration. Make sure that you use any platforms that you want a presence on and get a feel for the rules of play and what kind of interests you as a consumer. Do some reading, find out top tips, tactics for that platform, and have a look at what others are doing. Head over to the big brands within your industry or even other industries that appeal to your target audience. What type of content are they sharing? Have a look at the numbers at the bottom. What's getting engagement? What formats it in? What's everybody using? Have a look at all of that. And is there any disruptive brands doing something new or clever? Like, we don't want to copy here, but it's just being inspired, thinking about what's possible. And don't be afraid to think outside the box a little, or reading some top tips to help you come up with great ideas that you are kind of available within your budget and suitable for you. But remember, although I've just said all of this, to caveat, it needs to be your content. It needs to be what you want to say to your audience and what you have the authority to say. So play on your strengths as well. What do you have that's unique to you that is going to engage people? So now get posting. Now you should be ready to get posting again. Have a little think about what sort of tone you want to take with your audience. Remember that this is a conversation. Social is conversational. You need to be human and embody the persona of your business, which is likely to be your persona. And remember, this is a dialogue with your customers. So be someone you want to engage with. Don't be overly marketing or overly bragging about yourself and just self-promotion. That's dull. Nobody wants to speak to that guy at a party, so nobody's going to want to engage with that guy on social media. It's a conversation. But don't be afraid to sell on social. You can still sell to people, but think about your tone and how you do it. It's fine to sell and include calls to action, but make it benefit-led for the user. Make them want to do it. And remember, you are a person too, so don't be afraid to sell yourself as your business head. It's sell yourself and what you know, and feature in videos and reels and live and share your thoughts. It's not just your business, it's you as well. And when you're thinking about your formats, mix it up a little bit. There's so many different types of content and content topics that you can talk about, and nobody wants a feed of all of the same thing. So obviously it has to be something that you can talk about. If you don't have, say, I don't know, technical white papers, you don't need to go out and pull them together if that's not a fit for your business and your audience. But if that is a fit and you do have them, then great, that might be something people are interested in. So have a little think about all of the different things you can say and all of the different ways that you can say it. So for example, if you are, say, a personal trainer, and I know that obviously not everybody is, but if that was your business and you were a personal trainer, some of the different things and ways that you could say, things that you could post on social would potentially be last minute availability for sessions. So quick updates on that. Questions, posting questions and stickers on reels, asking for people's fitness concerns, favourite workout times, etc. Infographics to show tricky techniques, images of client results, testimonials from clients, videos or reels of quick routines that you can do at home, little top tips, a video with top tips from you to get over whatever barriers people have in place, gifts of exercises, any industry research about the benefits of exercise that you find really interesting, live sessions with guided routines, reels where you talk about you, inspirational influencers sharing something that you found funny, something to do with your business, workout playlists, etc, etc, etc. There's lots of different ideas, and don't be afraid to post light-hearted content as well, but within reason, and maybe not all the time, maybe not on LinkedIn. But remember that technical doesn't have to be dry. So if you are a technical business, like we sell and we do a lot of stats, it doesn't have to be dry. Technical can still be exciting to people who are excited in that. So it doesn't mean you need to take a dry tone. Use different formats of your social platforms. Make sure to include videos and images. Videos and images are key. Some informational posts. Don't always tell. Ask questions. This is a conversation. Invite the audience in. And a top tip is be authentic. Authentic content is becoming increasingly important to everybody across all media. People see through overly curated content now. People do want you to be authentic. in the advent of fake news and everything, people are more wary about media manipulation and more wary about, well, what is this true? What's the source of this? People want authentic, genuine content. During lockdown, we all attended meetings in half pajamas. We had animals coming in. We were all on Zoom. Things were just that little less polished. And there is a bit of a backlash against excessive use of filters that just look unreal and everything. So authentic content is key. And that's a lot of what's shared on TikTok. It's a lot of an advent of TikTok as well. This quick video, these reels, these quick, unpolished videos that people are sharing with not very well executed imagery and memes. Like, this is the way, so be authentic. And also share user-generated content of your products or of your venue. Share kind of different photos. It doesn't all have to be polished. As long as it's authentic to you and your authentic voice, this can help you build trust and build engagement with your audience. A little word of caution on your content. Don't court controversy and confrontation. Social media is a public platform, and things go wrong, it's really visible. So ill-advised or ill-thought-out posts can cause backlash and bad press. So always follow your platform guidelines. Be polite and courteous when dealing with complaints, because it's very visible. Don't post when you're angry or when you're stressed out. And it can also be useful if there is anything you're not sure whether you should post, to get a second pair of eyes on this. So just a kind of a word of caution. Try and stop getting your fingers burnt. And if something does happen, then there are ways to try and deal with it, but it's just trying to avoiding controversy and confrontation. Another myth we hear a lot of, questions we get a lot of asked, is that you have to post at certain times of the day. There's perfect times of the day for you to post. And this isn't really true, because the answer is it depends. So yep, when you look at the stats, there are higher levels of engagement at different times of the day. But again, this all depends on who you are and what you're saying and who your audience is. So for example, if you're targeting the C-suite and professionals with B2B content on LinkedIn, you might see better engagement at a different time than if you are a lifestyle brand targeting busy parents on Instagram. So yes, there is lots of stats out there, and there will be probably optimum times for you to post, but there's no hard and fast rules. It really depends on you and your audience and what you're trying to say. So look at your data and see how time of day or day of the week has impacted engagement of your posts. And don't get too hung up on like the optimum time. Another myth that we hear is that all videos have to be a set length. There's an ideal length for a video. And again, this isn't necessarily the case. For lots of social videos, shorter is better. People don't want to waste their time. However, there's no set time. Essentially, videos need to just be as long as they need to be. So if you are doing how-tos, a how-to video is obviously going to be longer. If it's a product demonstration or a service demonstration or showing somebody how to, that's going to be longer than, say, a quick reel on your Instagram. But do try and keep in mind that quality and value is key. So as long as it has to be valuable, it has to be high quality. But do be succinct and to the point. Like, don't take additional, I mean, I have a cheek saying this because I can waffle because I want to say lots of things, but be succinct and to the point in your videos. Don't make them longer than they need to be. So we've talked about platforms and we've talked about content. So now, what can you do to boost engagement? So anybody that's used social media for business are going to know that engagement is key. It's not the halcyon days of back in the day when you had 5,000 followers. Your posts would reach 5,000 people. That was amazing, but it's not true anymore. Now, it's like with search engine optimization, the internet and everything has moved on. There are so many people, so many brands, so much content, so much stuff that it's no longer as easy as that. And remember that these social platforms are there to make money for the social platforms, and they're there to serve advertising. So they want to keep people on that platform and keep people engaged. So they're not going to just share any old content. They want to share, they want to kind of to give reach to the most engaging content. So they want to give reach to the content that is proven to be more engaging than others. So they have all these complex algorithms with lots of different things, but we know with some of the algorithms that engagement is key to getting more reach. So engaging content is key to having wider reach from your content. So we've already spoken about what kind of content do we need to make that's engaging, but now we need to have a little think about what can we do to boost that engagement a little bit. So what can we do? So the first thing is ask for engagement. Ask people to interact with you. So social is a conversation, like we've mentioned before, and we've already said you should ask questions, and this is one of the reasons why it's so important. Funnily enough, engaging with your users boosts engagement. So if you are asking people and kind of inviting them into a conversation, this can help. So actively ask questions. Use question stickers in reels, run polls on Twitter and Instagram. And if someone, sorry, I haven't to press my little buttons. If somebody is asking, like responding to you, commenting on your content, like that's amazing. Make sure to respond back. Try and make sure that you react to these and respond with another little comment, so you're having that conversation and keeping it going. Also, use the platform's new features. So remember, these platforms are constantly evolving. They're always trying to be more engaging and have their own unique use point. And so a lot of that means that they're launching new features all the time. So when they have launched new features, then you can often get rewarded with engagement and reach when using them. So top of the list just now is, say, Reels and Stories on Instagram and Facebook as well. On Instagram, post reels and get creative with these reels. Use the filters and the effects and some music and the stickers and the hashtags. So use the features that you have available, and you can often get rewarded for that. Reels can have better reach than other types of Instagram posts. And if you're an e-commerce company, if you're selling, use the social features that Pinterest product pins or Instagram shops. Use those features to try and get the most reach that you can. Use hashtags and tags. So in Instagram and other sites with hashtags, using the relevant hashtags essentially lets you label up your content. It lets you tell that algorithm and people what your content's about, so that you can be found and gain better reach in searches. So if the algorithm can more easily share your content with interesting people, that means it needs to understand what your content's about, and that's where hashtags come in. Also, collaborate with other people and tag others. So whether that's complementary brands or their products, or even brands that you've liked, tag them. Tag their products and tag them. Collaborating can be great, because then essentially you're reaching that wider audience. You're having a conversation, you're being social, and you're reaching a wider audience, and you're engaging. So think about how you could use hashtags and tags. Also, try and post regularly. So when you have a social presence that is important for your marketing, you do need to keep that updated with regular posts. You need to keep it fresh and let people know that you're there. And posting regularly can help with your engagement and your posts. However, I do want to point out that, remember that obviously you still have to monitor and respond to these posts. So if you take on too much, if you say to yourself, right, I have to get 6 posts out today across these platforms, don't sacrifice the quality for the quantity. Don't focus on quantity, focus on the quality and the engagement. And don't just whack up any filler posts or things that you haven't really thought through. The content still has to be engaging and authentic. And also, you know your audience and you know your business, so you know what is realistic with your time. So develop a posting frequency that works for you. There isn't a hard and fast rule. You're not going to get penalized for not. Like, you do need to post regularly, but it doesn't mean you have to do it numerous times every day. Try and find a rhythm that works for you and works for your audience. Content calendars can be useful. So essentially a content calendar is, it can help you plan ahead. So it's when you think about, well, what has the business got coming up? What do we need to say when? Have we got a launch or an event or some awards or a giveaway or a promotion coming up? So do we need some social posts to promote that? So you can pop it in your content calendar. You can draft up those posts and what you want to say. And that can help you kind of get organized. It can also help you plan what posts you would potentially need to promote or any budget that you need to put behind it. So that can help you make the most of your big pieces of content and plan in any other extra posts to keep that conversation going. However, to caveat this, social is a conversation and it's not all broadcast. It is an engaging conversation, so it's not just about what you want to say. You do still need to be reactive, you need to engage, you need to be a bit spontaneous, so always allow for that as well. But content calendars can help, and there are templates available on online which can help you with that, even just in Excel. A little note about content schedulers as well. Schedulers are tools that help you create your posts and schedule them to be posted at a later date. So a lot of platforms have their own free version of schedulers, like Facebook and Instagram, and they allow you to kind of create these posts and to be posted, to create your content, which can be posted at a given time and date. There's also paid scheduling tools such as Sprout Social and Hootsuite and Buffer. There's lots of them, different kind of price points if you want to, if you're more of a power user and you're posting quite a lot of content across different platforms. So schedulers can be useful if you've got a small team, if it's just you and you're really busy and you know you're going to be busy, then you can schedule some posts that you know need to go out at a specific time. However, so it lets you chunk up the social work and the social media work. But do remember that you still need to be around to monitor and respond to those posts. So if you've scheduled loads of content to go live, you can't then just ignore it and think, that's taken care of. You do still need to have some time to then engage, and if somebody's commented, to get back to you. So you do still need to have the time. So keep that in mind if you are going to be using schedulers that you need to respond as needed. And also test and learn. We've said it a lot, but you do need to look at what boosts your reach and your engagement. So we've spoken about looking at your insights, but really do keep a kind of an eye on those insights. Each of the big platforms has insights. You can look at what's driving traffic, you can look at what's driving sales, and look at your reels versus stories versus posts. What gained most traction? Look at images of people versus products. What gains more traction? Try and do little tests and learn from them, because some studies have shown that, say, posts with people in them attract more engagement. Is this true for you and your audience? You can also look at time of day and day of week and learn what works for you. All that data is there, all that learning, all the answers to all those questions, so use it. And finally, this brings us on to paid social. So this is a whole topic in itself and one that I could talk about forever. But it is really important to mention here. So we've spoken a lot about your content and the platforms themselves, but social platforms are advertising platforms as well. Paid social can offer a huge opportunity for small businesses to reach and get in front of a wider audience. And it's an accessible form of advertising for small businesses. You don't necessarily have to have a huge budget. You can do successful ads with quite a modest budget. It's not the same as the TV ads, like we've said before, or a display or anything like that. You can have a much more modest budget on social and still get good results. At a talk I was at a couple of months ago through Digital Boost, the guys that I was in a panel with made a really great point that too many people forget. Paid social is not a last resort. It's not a last-ditch effort to flog some engagement out of your organic posts and just desperately boost kind of through tears. It's a valuable marketing tool in its own right to help you achieve your goals. So think of it as the tool that it is. It's not this kind of last-ditch, oh God, I have to pay to play. It is a valuable tool. And with that, you can boost posts and you can run ads. And both of these are a good opportunity for small businesses. However, you do need to put some thought into it. Again, this is budget. This is your budget. So you don't want to just kind of whack it in willy-nilly. You want to make sure that you have a plan for this, that you know what you want to achieve out of these platforms. Social, paid social, both kind of boosted posts and ads can work well when you are looking to, but when you want something in your hand. I often start, if I'm putting budget behind something, with something that I'm going to get back in my hand, so it's tangible, and then work up from there. So if you're looking to convert leads or sell products, paid social could work well and could be key to this to help you get in front of people who want to buy. These platforms have huge user bases and really detailed targeting options, like we've said, allowing you to tailor your ads and promote them, promote the kind of the right ad and the right content to your actual target audience. But you do need to plan with that beforehand. Keep it focused on the more tangible commercial goals, like increasing sales or generating leads or converting through retargeting first. And then think about how else could budget be used to kind of to widen that slightly further up the funnel. Could budget be used to persuade? And that's where things like retargeting come in. But do get to know the platforms, both for your boosted posts and your ads. Have a look through the actual platform's marketing, look at how it works. You can go on to, in Facebook, you can go on to a business page, and if you look at the about information and the page transparency, you can see what ads businesses have been running, so you can get an idea, get a feel for it. But do your homework before you put your budget in, and keep a close eye on those stats to work out what does and doesn't work for you. I've popped up some resources here. When you are looking for information about social, there's lots of great information about there, but it's sometimes difficult to know reputable, like good sources of information. So sites like Hootsuite and Sprout Social are really good for content. The platform's marketing guides themselves are really useful, and Digital Boost runs some great webinars. So I've popped some links up there. So now we're on to questions. I think we've got 5 minutes left. I'm going to turn off my screen sharing just now, and then we can all pop our cameras and mics back on if we want to. And I am going to come back into the room. Oh, right. Okay, can everybody see me? Hi, everyone. Let me have a look and see if we've got any questions in our chat box that I can cover off. I'm aware that I've only left 5 minutes for this, so apologies, guys. Let me see the conversation tab. Okay, we have got some. We've got some. Oh, sorry, somebody's going off and on with mute. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I'll have a look through. I'll have a look through our questions. Let me see. Okay. Yes, these slides will be available after the meeting. They will be, like I said, the session is recorded, so we will pop them up and people can have a look. Having a look at questions. Sorry, guys, I've missed them. So how do you measure ROI on paid social? So I would use paid social. They have got, you will have things like the Facebook pixel. There's tracking that you can use. So make sure that you add tracking within your ads and on your website, so then you can link those up. So you can have a look at, say, if you've got Shopify, that can often link up and pull through. If you're using Google Analytics, make sure that you're tagging up your ads and your posts so you can see what traffic's come through, and then you can measure what they've done and who's gone on to sell, so you can then work out what you've spent and what you've got back. So that's using the pixel tracking of the social media platforms and joining that up with your other stats like analytics or Shopify. Let me see, there's more things coming up. You will see the list of resources we can pop up, and the slides will be available in the resource gallery, so we can have a little look at those. Other questions that we've been asked in the past are things like, how do you work between your, say you have a personal business page and Facebook groups and a business page. If it's your own business, then oftentimes it can kind of get muddied the water because you're selling yourself, so you often post business posts on your personal profiles and it all gets muddied up. So if you are in that situation, one thing that do keep in mind is that the business pages have got different features than your personal pages have. So often there's more benefits from using the business pages. So try and keep it separate if you can, but don't be afraid to kind of have a little bit of crossover. So did anybody have any other questions that they want me to cover? I think I've got like 2 minutes left. Would I avoid paying for followers initially? Yes, I would avoid that. Whenever you try and kind of, it's not really what is recommended by the platforms to buy followers. You want to grow your followers organically. So if you're starting out and you don't have any followers, mention it on your personal posts kind of cross-link from one platform to the other. Make sure you've got links from your website out to your social posts. Try and drive people there and start conversations, start posting, join in hashtags, join in trends, kind of get yourself out there and grow your audience organically. Paying for followers is never a good plan, and they are likely to be bots. So try and do this or build your audience up organically and quality. The difference between a Facebook page and a Facebook group. So a Facebook page is like your own business page that you can go on. If you go on Facebook and look at, say, I don't know, any brand that you can think of, Marks and Spencer's, there'll be a page and that's their Facebook page. A Facebook group are things like, there's often big neighbourhood groups. So I'm in a load of different groups for my local area, like, or buy and sell in Edinburgh, or so it's a specific group where people can be invited to join. It's a separate part of Facebook, and you can all post and interact with other people in those groups. So guys, I think that's us at the end. Thank you so much for joining me on this rainy morning. It was great fun to chat to you all, and it's nice to be able to come off the slides and see everybody. So thanks so much, guys, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, bye.